L'Jarius Sneed is the perfect fit for new Titans defensive coordinator Dennard Wilson's defense. But what is it about Sneed's game that makes he and Wilson such a perfect match made in football heaven? Well, let's explore. Earlier this offseason, you probably know this, the Titans traded for and then signed the two-time Super Bowl champion cornerback to a 4-year, $76.4 million extension, and Tennessee gave up a 2025 third-round pick. They also swapped 2024 seventh-rounders. So you have to wonder, given this draft capital given up, given the high-dollar contract Sneed commanded, given his history with chronic knee problems, will the Titans regret this gamble? Or will Sneed be the missing piece that elevates the Titans' defense to contender status? Well, welcome back to the Music City Audible YouTube channel where we talk everything Tennessee Titans. As I said, today we're going to look at why L'Jarius Sneed was essentially built in a lab to execute Dennard Wilson's scheme. We're also going to look at the risks associated with his acquisition, but ultimately why Sneed is the perfect fit as that player who can take the Titans defense over the top. While you're here, be sure to subscribe to this channel, give the video a thumbs up, and turn on channel alerts so you get a notification every time we drop a new video. And please drop a comment below to join the conversation. Also, this video is presented by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville, Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville. Stay tuned for more on Sinkers Beverages later in the video. Alright, so before we get to why Sneed fits perfectly in Wilson's defense, first we should probably establish some key components of what this defense will even look like. Dennard Wilson was a former pro defensive back himself. He's been a defensive backs position coach. He's been a defensive passing game coordinator. He has a clear strategy when it comes to defending wide receivers. His philosophy is all about aggression and pressure.
From day one, we press everything. Period.
Wilson's scheme heavily incorporates the aggression of press coverage as part of a broader attacking, pressure-oriented approach. Press coverage, a cornerback technique where the defender lines up close to the line of scrimmage, engages the opposing wide receiver with physical contact at the line, right at the snap. The goal here of press coverage is to disrupt the offense's rhythm by throwing off the receiver's route timing and preventing a clean release off the line, thus forcing the offense into unfavorable positions and allowing more time for the pass rush to get home. So how does press coverage as a component fit into the overall defensive philosophy of Dennard Wilson? Well, number one, it disrupts the offensive timing. You can use press coverage to disrupt a receiver's route, throw off the timing between the receiver and his quarterback, which can lead to incomplete passes or even interceptions if the offense isn't in sync. And that's a critical component in forcing those valuable turnovers that Dennard Wilson emphasizes. Secondly, it can help disguise coverages, which Wilson will likely do. He'll use press alignments to mask the coverage intentions. Defenders can show press or then bail into zone coverage, which can confuse quarterbacks' pre-snap reads. But if they're always at the line of scrimmage and they don't always press, that can cause confusion. Also, number three, it limits quick passes, which in today's NFL, most offenses are relying on these quick short passes, which, it helps negate the pass rush. But if you're press covering, if you're up there jamming the receivers at the line of scrimmage, it can disrupt these quick hitting plays. And finally, it offers run support. Look, passing is the name of the game in the NFL, but if you can't stop the run, you're not going to have a good defense. Cornerbacks who line up in press are, again, closer to the line of scrimmage, which allows them to engage more quickly in the run defense. So this defensive approach of Dennard Wilson, it's highlighted by constant press coverage. It requires cornerbacks who can do that, who are physical, who play with good technique, and especially who can recover if they're initially beaten. So all of those are attributes that L'Jarius Sneed possesses. Wilson's scheme is likely going to be based around a high-risk, high-reward strategy. It's all about generating turnovers, and big plays for the defense can change the game if executed properly. So, we've covered the defensive philosophy. How does Sneed fit into this overall philosophy? We're going to start with the obvious. If press coverage is such a huge component of the defense, he's got to be able to play press coverage. Sneed has that size, speed, strength, and the footwork, which allows him to jam receivers effectively to throw off those routes and create chaos for quarterbacks. In fact, this isn't just eye test, this isn't just film study. There are stats now that back this up. During the 2024 season, Pro Football Focus, PFF, they began tracking how often defenders make contact with a receiver in a route. Sneed ranked as the fourth most physical defender in the NFL. According to PFF charting, Sneed made contact with a route-running receiver on 33%, one-third of his coverage snaps. On those snaps where he made contact with the receiver, he allowed just a 30.3% completion rate, he forced an incompletion 21% of the time, and he surrendered just a 46.0 passer rating. That is elite. He also only gave up a first down or a touchdown on 18% of the targets that came his way. The player who led the NFL last season in this new PFF physicality metric was actually Atlanta Falcons cornerback A.J. Terrell. He was all the way up at 40%. Now, A.J. Terrell last year, with this 40% physicality metric, was coached in Atlanta. Their secondary coach last year was Steve Jackson. Wilson brought Steve Jackson over to coach the Titans secondary this year. He will be L'Jarius Sneed's position coach. So with Jackson, we know his aggressive philosophy in the fold. We know Dennard Wilson just went through his aggressive philosophy. With both of those guys now coaching L'Jarius Sneed, I would expect that rate of contact in coverage, the 33% rate, to rise even higher this year because it's how both of these coaches want their corners to play, and it's where Sneed truly excels. But what is it about Sneed that makes him so good in press coverage? I mentioned the physical tools, the size, the speed, the length, the footwork. He also has the right mentality because it's not just the physical attributes that allow you to play press coverage at a high level. The cornerbacks out there need the right mental approach. They have to be aggressive and fearless. Press coverage can be a gamble. Sometimes it will lead to big plays for the offense if you get beat off the line of scrimmage. But as a defender, you cannot worry about those few times that you do get beat. You got to move on to the next play. And Sneed does a great job of this. He does not let the negative plays affect his mentality. So that attacking attitude meshes perfectly with Wilson's aggressive overall approach. In Wilson's defense, these skills are invaluable. Sneed's ability to disrupt timing and route at the line of scrimmage, it should give the pass rush extra time to get home. It should be able to force quarterbacks into rushed, ill-advised throws, which allows the defense overall to be more aggressive with blitzes, and again, creates opportunities for those ever-valuable turnovers. There's a few other reasons. It's not just press coverage. There's a few other reasons why Sneed can excel in this scheme. He's a great, like I just went through, a great man coverage press corner, but he has the skill set to play man and zone, and Wilson is gonna, he's gonna mix up the coverages. He loves defensive backs who can wear multiple hats, so it's not gonna be all man out there. He's gonna have to play some zone coverage too, and he's good at it. In Wilson's defense, creating turnovers is key. I've said it 5 times now, which means ball skills in the secondary are important. Sneed has 10 interceptions in the last 4 seasons. He has shown he's got a nose for the football. He's got instincts and playmaking ability that could be a game changer for this defense. He was 5th among all corners last season with 12 pass breakups to go along with 2 interceptions last year. He also has some blitzing ability. We know Dennard Wilson is going to bring the heat from all over the formation on defense. Sneed is no stranger to rushing the passer. He has piled up 6.5 sacks in his career, proving that he can get to the quarterback when called upon. I don't expect this to be a huge component of what Sneed does for Dennard Wilson, but I expect it to be up at some element of what the defense does. When you least expect it, here comes L'Jarius Sneed on a blitz. And finally, like I mentioned earlier, yes, defense, stopping the pass is all the rage in the modern NFL, but you got to be able to stop the run too, and L'Jarius Sneed's tackling ability is another aspect that sets him apart from most cornerbacks. Dennard Wilson needs his defensive backs to be sure tacklers, and Sneed is known for this solid tackling ability, especially for a cornerback. You got the corners playing tight to the line of scrimmage and press coverage. You're going to need those corners to be active in run support. Sneed's physicality and tackling technique make him a pretty reliable last line of defense.
Give to Williams, he's tripped up. He had a little bit of a seam there, but L'Jarius Sneed made an excellent tackle.
And to back this up with stats, among all corners who met a minimum snap threshold last year, Sneed was 6th in the NFL in total tackles just on run plays last season. So Sneed is nothing short of the ideal corner for Wilson's defense, but that doesn't mean this will be a home run acquisition. I mentioned there might be some risks, so let's get into those risks and then talk about how Sneed can elevate the Titans defense to true contender status. But first, a quick break to remind you all this video is brought to you by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville and Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville. Sinkers Beverages is the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Their knowledgeable staff is proud to help you with large parties, themed events, or finding something unique for a special occasion. From birthday parties to milestone celebrations to everyday moments, Sinkers can help with the right drink for every occasion. Plus, Sinkers is available on Uber Eats, the most convenient way to get all the booze you need delivered straight to your front door. If you check the link in this video description or head to sinkersbeverages.com, you can join the In Crowd. In-crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. All right, back to L'Jarius Sneed. So as I said, the move to acquire Sneed does not come without significant risks. Clearly, Rand Carthon was comfortable taking those risks, but let's talk about some of them. Number 1, first and foremost, as I mentioned, Sneed has dealt with chronic knee issues. These first appeared in the week leading up to the 2023 Super Bowl, the one against the Philadelphia Eagles, and they persisted all throughout last season. He was granted permission to seek a trade late February of this year, and when that happened, NFL insider Tony Pauline went out and reported on these lingering knee issues. He wrote on March 2nd, "I have learned from numerous sources that Sneed has been dealing with a knee injury that prevented him from practicing for long stretches last season." Now, these medical red flags were concerning enough. The Vikings, who had shown interest in trading for Sneed, when they found out about these medical concerns, they backed out of trade talks. They were no longer interested. That's how concerning they were. However, it would appear the Titans were not scared off by these reports. Team president Chad Brinker told Paul Kuharsky back in April, the Titans were confident in Sneed's long-term health. They exchanged information with the Chiefs about Sneed's knee, and then Brian Callahan echoed that sentiment during a recent press conference after a training camp practice.
And we also talked to Kansas City. You know, we had our trainers had reached out and asked about the program he was on and how they did it, and then obviously with our doctors and our trainers and with some input from him, just what the best thing is for him to stay as healthy and fresh as possible for 17 games plus.
So while Sneed did not miss a game in 2023 outside of Week 18, which he was held out of for rest, he played 98% of the team's defensive snaps when he was active. The knee injury was still enough to keep him out of practice for the majority of the season. So this injury management is something the Titans will just have to deal with in order to keep Sneed healthy and ready for a 17-game season, possibly more than 17 games if the Titans achieve their goal of making the playoffs. I know there's a lot of people that probably don't think they will, but from the Titans' perspective, you got to be able to manage it. However, all those concerns said, Sneed himself does not think it will be a problem.
Oh man, ain't nothing wrong with my knee. I'm fine. I played the whole season, and the years before that I played as well. I had a couple of problems. I had banged up knee before, but I'm good right now. Nothing is really wrong with my knee.
Well, aside from the injury risks, the Titans also parted ways with draft capital, substantial cap space to bring in Sneed. This will potentially impact their future roster building capabilities, so that's a risk just in and of itself. And one last thing, an area where Sneed has struggled a bit, the one thing that maybe keeps him from being in the top 3 cornerback mix in the NFL, he's committing too many penalties. He has a very physical nature, which just is going to lead to more flags than you'd like. Last year, we saw him commit an NFL-high 17 penalties, mostly for holding a receiver. So that's just a result you're going to have to live with in order to maximize this press coverage-heavy scheme. Brian Callahan doesn't seem too concerned about the occasional flag if it means mostly shutting down the opposing team's top receiving weapon.
No, you definitely don't want penalties. You never want to be the highest penalized in anything. But it is part of his play style. I think there's some technique things you can clean up when you guys get a little grabby and handsy at the top of routes. But he's just an incredibly aggressive corner, and you got to live with that. That's the cost of doing business sometimes when guys play that way, and he's going to make a whole lot more plays than he's going to give up.
All right, so we acknowledge all those risks. Even so, I still think Sneed is the type of premier corner who can take this Titans defense from pretender to contender. He's still just 27 years old, so he should be able to maintain his high level of play for at least 3 to 5 more years. Maybe not quite that long, but enough time to maximize the Will Levis rookie contract window. And throughout his career, Sneed has taken on the challenge of matching up with the opposing team's best receiver on a weekly basis, and he often limits their production when matched up against them. So let's look at some of the receivers he matched up with just last year. A.J. Brown allowed 1 catch for 8 yards. Stephon Diggs, who's now in the division in Houston, Sneed's going to see him twice a year. He allowed 4 catches, only 24 yards. Against Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in the league, Sneed conceded just 3 catches for 28 yards. And yeah, quarterback play was an issue in Minnesota last year, but it didn't stop Justin Jefferson when he was on the field from being extremely productive. What did stop him was L'Jarius Sneed's coverage. In fact, L'Jarius Sneed did not allow a single touchdown as the nearest defender in coverage in the entire regular season last year. He recorded 570 coverage snaps without allowing a score, the most in the NFL. His first touchdown allowed did not come until the Chiefs' divisional round playoff victory over the Buffalo Bills. Sneed has also historically been a playoff riser. He played a huge role in helping the Chiefs win back-to-back Super Bowls. Last year, let's just look at last year alone. In the wildcard matchup with the Miami Dolphins, Sneed allowed Tyreek Hill to gather just 1 catch for only 9 yards. Then, the conference championship game, Baltimore Ravens were poised to take a late lead in a game where touchdowns were really hard to come by. Zay Flowers was about to score. He was about to cross the goal line and give the Ravens the lead. Sneed comes flying in at the last second, pops the ball out of Flowers' grasp right at the goal line. A truly game-saving play saved their Super Bowl run. And in the Super Bowl itself, Sneed held Brandon Ayuk, a super dynamic receiver, to just 3 catches for 49 yards. He also had key coverage on Juwan Jennings on a crucial 3rd down from their own 9-yard line in overtime. If the Niners score here, they win the Super Bowl. But check out this play. Here is a great example of how we can see press coverage being so effective. Sneed uses that physicality, throws off the timing between Jennings and Brock Purdy, forces an errant throw, and gives Patrick Mahomes the chance to drive down the field and win the game, which is exactly what he did. In ESPN's anonymous poll of league executives, coaches, and scouts ranking the NFL's best corners, Sneed came in at number 4, with at least one executive listing him as the number 1 corner in the game. No one in this poll ranked him lower than the 10th best corner in the game. His numbers speak for themselves when it comes to Sneed's place as one of the truly elite shutdown corners in the game today. So, there you have it. L'Jarius Sneed's skill set seems to align perfectly with what Dennard Wilson wants in a defensive back. Could this be the start of something special? What do you think? Is Sneed the missing piece to take the Titans defense over the top? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, again, remember, be sure to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, like, and turn on channel alerts so you get a notification every time we drop a new video. Until next time, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.